Not sure, it may be. So 1957, fast forward a couple of months, we go to August of 57, and you can start to see footers are going in. And then we go to December of 57, this is the gymnasium here, where we are right now. And this is the front of the building in December. So the main entrance would be right over somewhere over there at the top. There it is. That's the main entrance. Here's the front of the building. This is the little road that goes on the side of the building. This should be familiar. Where are we? We're in our gym. So you got June 1958. I love the stage. It's right here, by the way. It's the stage. Okay. We go to now, 1964. This is the Homestead site. So you can see them starting to do some site grading there. We go to 65, and you can see the front of the building is starting to take shape a little bit. Here's the stack where the incinerator used to live years and years ago. That would be the front entrance to the building right there. Okay? So a little trip down memory lane for you. By the way, take a guess as to the cost of this building. Anybody want to shout it out? $1 million. I heard $1 million. Do I hear less? Do I hear more? 500,000. One more. Give me one more. 375. All right. So we got a high, middle, and low. $900,000, give or take, back in 1958 for the Wakefield building. Okay. Between 1958 and now, we fast forward very quickly. Around the year 2007, there was an original scope study that was done to replace the Wakefield building and Homestead buildings into one. Some of you that have been around long enough, you know that John Archer they were considering putting that on the same campus as the Homestead Wakefield campus. It got approved by the Board of Ed around 2009, and then money dried up. So it was rescinded due to some fiscal constraints. It got revived in 2020, and in 2021, this year, the state and the Board of Education approved an $82.5 million project, 108,000 square feet with a capacity of almost 1,130 students. So quite a difference between 1958 and 2022. That's where we've been. This is kind of where we currently are, so I'm going to orient you a little bit for what you're looking at. This is a bird's eye view from the top. Over here on the right is the current Wakefield building, Homestead building, Bel Air Middle, Bel Air High. We consider this, in my opinion, to be one campus. We share our off-site evacuation with Bel Air Middle, where kids walk over there in case of an emergency. We have kids constantly going back and forth across the campus. We consider it the Bel Air campus. And Mr. Campbell, Mr. Banta can talk about how we're trying to integrate the look of Bel Air High sort of into the Homestead Wakefield building. He can talk about that a little bit later. Up here is the Idlewild Road, and 924 is at the top there with my very dull laser. Okay, that's where we are, bird's eye view, currently. This is a timeline when the project started back in 2020, and the ultimate goal, I'm not going to go over every step though, the ultimate goal was to have occupancy in the fall of 2024. Okay? We are currently at this point, right before May. That's where we are right about now, May of 2022, and the project is fully funded. The money is in the bank, everybody is committed, and we are currently on schedule. Now, when I made this PowerPoint, we were currently on schedule. But I'm going to let Mr. Morton discuss, just share a little bit about where we are right at this moment.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. So, as you can imagine, on an $82.5 million project, there's a lot of steps in the process, especially one that kind of kicked off, stalled because of downturn in the economy in 2008, and then, picking up after some of the other, the Having Grace Middle High, and some of the other projects that come along. So, we did submit for planning approval in 2020 and received it, as shown on the schedule. We did take the board, completed the scope study when we were doing the balancing enrollment initiative, and received approval for the new school up on over the footprint of the Wakefield building. We did complete the ed spec and received board approval submitted to the state in June. We took the schematic design to the board, received submission in August. Design development goes to the state and Department of General Services. That was submitted. We received their comments. We answered, received approval. Construction documents we submitted to, again, Department of General Services. We received their comments. We responded, and we received approval in March, which is actually the fastest the state has ever caught up on their reviews for construction documents. We did go out for bid, and we were scheduled to receive bids May 21st. We presented to the April 21st. We presented to the Town of Bel Air Planning Commission to get planning approval, and I'm sure by now it's out. They have very strong feelings about an east-west connection, the people that serve on the Planning Commission, and we are working through that. I can't go into too much detail because we're trying to be cooperative and work because that's what we do. And I guess to really expand, I've been with Harford County 27 years. We work with Harford County government, the Town of Bel Air, the City of Havre de Grace, and the City of Aberdeen on projects year in, year out, all the time. On this particular project, you know, we did kind of hit a wall over this road. There are strong opinions on either side. We are really trying to work through this so that everybody wins, but you know, it is a tenuous situation, and if we can't cooperate, the next step, it goes legal, so I can't really go much further. With the current schedule, we postponed the bid, and we're going back to the Planning Commission on June 2nd. If things go well, then we're going to try and get back on track, on schedule, and maintain as best we can. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to adjust the schedule. So that's where it's at right now.
Thank you, sir. So what is in place now, what has been in place, this is a drawing, again, a bird's eye view looking down of the proposal that has been approved. So I'm going to show you to your right here. This is the Homestead Wakefield building in its new location on the Homestead site. Over here, Wakefield Meadows, folks, these are your houses. Okay, 924 is running up this way. Hunsinger Way is here. So the Wakefield building, the plans are to be demolish the building and build on the existing location. There is about a 40-foot grade difference between buildings, so that is something that was unique to this site that made it a challenge. This is the current location of the Homestead building. You can see from the rendering that it'll be ball fields. This is the current Bel Air Middle School as it stands now. So again, Homestead is here, Wakefield is here. Wakefield gets demolished, Homestead stays put, and we've got modulars coming in here, which I'll show you in a second. Here's another rendering, bird's eye view from the top. This is the Wakefield building, Homestead Wakefield building, as you'd be looking down on it. The Bel Air Middle School would be over here up top. Hunsinger Way is here. 924 is here. You can see that the building is on this kind of long axis, mirroring the property line. There's a courtyard in the middle. We have parking and parent drop-off in the front, and the bus loop goes to the back of the building. Wakefield Manor folks are over here, and again, this gets turned into ball fields. This is a schematic of the building itself. It's very difficult to take a building that large and make it so you can see it really well, but what you're going to see is there is a first floor, And then on top, there's a second floor. Second floor is going to house 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. First floor would house pre-K, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. We have an enlarged gymnasium. We have a cafeteria. We have a place for the arts. We've got this courtyard here that can be utilized by the media center and art classes. We have a pre-K playground that's going to be inside of our courtyard. So we're very excited about the designs that have happened at this point. These are just some renderings to show you kind of what the front of the building will look like. This would be the main entrance to Homestead Wakefield. Sort of a cutaway drawing. And this is just depicting a view of some of the brickwork that's going there. So I'll let Mr. Banta just quickly talk about how we're trying to incorporate bringing the campus across.
Good evening. You might have heard Chris say, Mr. Campbell, well, that was my partner for 35 years. He's done nine schools here in Harford County. I get had the honor of being part of this one, which I really appreciate. But the idea behind the school was we want to be the south anchor of the Bel Air High School campus, Bel Air Middle School, and of course Homestead Wakefield. And so we want to use the same colored bricks and massing that we see on Bel Air High School. Now Bel Air High School has a 3-story effect. We can't do that. It doesn't make sense hardly to have a 2-story for elementary school, but that's what we're faced with, the square footage we have and the size of the property line. So if you notice on the rendering, the top layer is above the signs for Homestead Wakefield, and the banding that you see, that's going to be a cream colored brick, similar to what you see at Bel Air High School. The lower brick on the right of the cafeteria, to the right of the entrance right there, that's going to be the rose tan brick that you see at Bel Air High School, or similar to it. We can't say it's going to be the exact one because it's underbid and the low bid wins the contract. We are faced, of course, with having some elevation to make a height difference. Right now, Homestead and Wakefield are 1-story, fairly low, and no real change in elevation. So we're going to change that with raising the entries to the on the right side entrance is to the cafeteria and the gym beyond. And on the left side is the main entrance for the pre-K, kindergartners, and of course the administration of the building, and all visitors as well. So those are elevated. We got 3rd-story windows. We got sloped roofs. A lot of drama for those kind of spaces. You see the very background on top of the 2-story is the penthouses. Those are prescribed by Harford County Public Schools to house the HVAC system, so they do last 50 years, not have to be replaced in 10 years, 20 years. And of course, if you have a 1-story on the coming out of the main entrance area, that's for the kindergartens on the first floor of that building, and it helps to transition to the lower height where the adjacent neighborhood is as well for Wakefield community.
Thank you, sir. Okay, appreciate it. I want to go back real quick. I failed to mention that, yes, this is identified as field space, but Bel Air Middle School is a school that's also in need of being replaced. So the logical step is, does Bel Air Middle eventually go there? Okay, so that's some of the thought process that went in with the development of the current plans and why we built on this particular site. I just threw in some highlights. I'll let you look at them. There's a lot more to talk about other than what's up there, but those are some of the highlights that we look forward to. Our staff over the last year was involved in meetings to help design the classrooms and design what offices look like and design what counseling offices look like and where do we want to be situated with this room and that room. So they've done all that work ahead of time, but we're very excited to move forward with this project. So how do we get there? Okay, this is the transition part where we go. Construction has now started down on the current Homestead site to build 3 modulars. In the summer of 22, our plan is to move Wakefield students into these modulars. Then Homestead students, you get to stay home. You don't get to go anywhere. And Wakefield students stay in the modulars for 2 years, and then hopefully we move into the fall of 2024. The reason we wanted to put this building in the modulars is we did not want to disrupt moves for 2 buildings. So the modulars you'll see are not like the typical trailers that you see now. They are 3 long modular structures that I think are going to serve our needs well for a temporary 2 years. This is showing where the modulars will be. Homestead building is here. Those that know the blacktop is here. Wakefield Manor folks are right here. Wakefield School is up here. And currently, the 3 modulars are being installed as we speak down in the current ball fields. There'll be a parking and bus loop that'll be put in here to help support. Basically, we're picking up an entire building and moving it down the hill. So we need a place to live. That's important. I'm going to skip that one. This is a site map showing current Homestead building is right here. You can kind of see the outline a little bit there. Okay, Bel Air Middle would be up here. We're going to have an access road that'll take us into the parking lot, and our modulars will be right here. These little red rectangles are buses. So we're taking 2 campuses and converging it into 1. That's a lot of buses, right? And a lot of moving parts. So that's going to have a significant impact. And our goal is to have 1 dismissal. We want to dismiss from 1 place and 1 place only. And that is our plan. These are some photos of the current modulars. This one is structurally put together and they're doing the finishing touches. This one's a little farther behind, and then this one, as far as I know, we're still working on floors and things like that. But as we speak, to the best of my knowledge, these are on target, ready for us to move in. This is kind of a picture. Here to your left is the current Homestead building. Wakefield Manor folks, those are your homes there. So our road's going to kind of come in this way, and the parking lot will be right up here. This first modular is going to house like all of our admin folks and all of our kindergarten classes. Just some pictures of a hallway, long hallway of the modular with the classrooms on each side. Other than 1 classroom, we're able to keep the entire grade levels together. Another picture showing the hallway with classrooms on the side. Yes, there are restrooms in these modulars. That was a big thing. Okay, we're really excited about that. And we got water fountains out there. It's like a big deal. So it's not like the old trailers that we're used to. It's 43 trailers? 43 trailers put kind of side by side. And then they're bolted together, floors are put together, and it ends up looking like that. So when we're finished, whoops, I'm anticipating kids are going to think that's school for me, right? That's where I go to school. Traffic at Homestead Wakefield. Traffic. Thank you for those that laugh. I appreciate that. So we have issues. We know that. Okay. This is going to present other issues. So we did get a focus group together of interested parents, and we also got a school committee together to talk about arrival and dismissal. We know we already have a very restricted site that's very congested, and we're now merging a campus to accommodate both schools. We cannot accommodate cars and buses at the same place. We went back and forth with ideas. We took a model from use benefit, which is there's going to be a shuttle service. So for parents that want to drive their students to school instead of taking the bus, they can drive them to Bel Air Middle. There'll be a shuttle service there. The shuttle bus will bring them to Homestead Wakefield every day. And then at night, after school is over, they will take them back to Bel Air High School where they'll get dropped off. That's the same procedure that use benefit used, and that's going to help us alleviate some of the needs with the cars. We're also going to provide bus service to Wakefield Meadows and Eastgate because you will not be able to cross the construction site. So transportation is going to provide bus service in your neighborhoods. Will not impact Wakefield Manor at all. They should be able to walk as normal. And we are working to explore options with 924 and Hunsinger Way. So if you want my opinions on the lights and the timings of that, I'll be happy to give that to you another time. Because you see me out there with the clicker, you see me with the stopwatch, and trust me, we're advocating very hard for that. I need everybody to remember this is short term, okay? I just want to put that out one more time to think about how would we fit the number of cars and buses in that site, considering what we have in place. Your point, go for it.
That entrance road there, is that Hunsinger or is that something else?
Now, Hunsinger's gonna be way up here. This
That's
is
what I
the
thought.
Hunsinger Way, yeah.
Okay.
This is the entrance that would bring kids, this is the current parking lot in front of the Homestead building, and we're just gonna add a road to make it to our modular area. Sorry, I know it's small.
Is that a parking lot in between the bus loop? What, right there, what is that?
That is a parking.
Okay.
These are buses, that's parking to accommodate staff. Mrs. Lee?
I know we had one playground right now at Homestead. I just can't tell, is it gonna be removed for this parking lot?
We originally were going to take out that playground. We might discuss that later.
Okay.
We put some extra mulch down by Homestead,
Yes,
and
I've
that
seen
has helped a lot. But playgrounds are gonna be,
Minimum.
play is gonna be a premium for 2 years. And we know that, and there's a committee working on it. Is it gonna be great? It's not, but it's short term. We get all new stuff down the road, all new. All right. I don't know why there's a blank one. Maybe that's a pause moment. There's a lot of information there about where we were and where we are now. Plans are going, modulars are being built. We are planning to move into those modulars. Teachers are planning to move into those modulars. The school system is ready to move us into those modulars, and we're ready to occupy those buildings for 2 years. Then we come to a stumbling block. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Brown, and Mr. Brown can discuss a little bit about the Planning Commission meeting that happened on April the 7th.
More than one slide?
More than one slide. You want to flip away? I can. You can flip away. Look, I even gave you a little preview right there. Look at that.
Thank you. That was one. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I come and see Principal Cook present and take command of a room, I flash back to when I was in elementary school, and it's just a lot of respect. So that right there.
That's because he spent a lot of time in the principal's office.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Yes, standard course of business. The project team, they'll work to do their engineering and their design work, and then they always engage the local municipality. As Mr. Morton stated, they work collaboratively with state officials, with county government, the city of Aberdeen, city of Havre de Grace. We just finished Havre de Grace Middle High. This is not our first project in the town of Bel Air with Bel Air High School and Patterson Mill and all that. It's not new, and it's 27 years. Harry, I think you were 14 years, going on 15 now? 15 going on 16? Okay, 15 going on 16. Just a lot of experience. So in the normal course of business, we submit our plans, and they make it known that it's their desire to make that connection of East and West McPhail Road. We had some internal discussions, and obviously the staff, we were not in support of that for obvious reasons, but I'll state a few. We just believe that one, it will impact safety on the site and access to program areas and fields of that sort. Students coming from the middle school to the elementary school, to and from school. We don't know where the road would go if it were to be designed, but they're going to have to cross that road somewhere during the day, either coming to school, leaving school, or during the school day. Program space, obviously, by getting rid of some space for a road, fields and that sort will be impacted, so we lose space that we use for educational purposes. And then again, we're looking at the Bel Air Middle School. I'm not going to get into all the details, but at some point, we're going to move forward with the renovation of the middle school. So you see what we're doing for the elementary with the modular buildings. We'll have to, work out some logistics and construction phasing, and we'll need the site in order to do that, to accommodate students and the phasing of the project, building a new school addition or whatever it might be. So that's an issue. Operational impact with transportation, arrival, dismissal, facilities folks coming to the building, things of that sort. Parents coming and going, parking and that stuff. It would be a significant challenge. Then process-wise, we are a quasi-state agency, and we're treated as such. But the one thing we do not have authorization to do, we're not allowed to disposition property. We can't buy property, we can't sell property, we can't transfer property to entities. What we have to do is go back to the state, and we have to say, we no longer need this property for educational purpose. And then they review it, and then they give us the authority to surplus. We go to the local government here in Harford County, and then we would, after we get approval from the state and then from our board, we go to the local government, and then we would transfer it to Harford County government, and then they would go and, sell, transfer, disposition of property. So it's a long process, that we have to go through there. So all of that was discussed during our planning process. Then what the town of Bel Air did after we had numerous meetings, they didn't approve our plans. We had our site plans, our landscape plans, our architectural documents and things that we need to get our approvals to start construction. They did not approve our plans, and they set some conditions. And the conditions they set is they would like for us to develop concept documents that would show how East and West McPhail Road would be connected. They would like the superintendent to obligate the school system to, at a later date to be determined, transition the property to the town, which he's not authorized to do given, the process that I just laid out. And then they would like the project team to do the engineering work to engineer the road to show how that's going to be done. Now, there's time associated with doing all of that. There we go. All right, and everyone's familiar, with, East McPhail at Route 924 and West McPhail Road at, South Atwood. And another thing to point out is they had several, not get into it, because is there a third slide? Yes. Okay, that's the third slide. Yes. All right, so it's the fourth slide. So again, one condition is that we, the superintendent sign off obligating the school system to transition the property to the town without the board approval and without the county government. The superintendent, he cannot sign off saying, yes, this is something that we'll do. They also asked that we look at the construction traffic access. That's what I was about to get into. So when you start looking at West McPhail Road and South Atwood, where the McFall Center is, that property is operated by Parks and Rec and county government. And we talked to them about the construction access road, and obviously with the Boys and Girls Club and how they use the McFall Center for voting and some, other community activities. It was just not something that they were open to have major construction activity basically coming in through that access point. So that was another condition that they had set for us, and our Parks and Rec partners who we work with daily didn't think that was a good idea for obvious reasons. Then they asked for some additional information for resubmission of our forest conservation plan, and that also was tied to conditions set for the road connector. So, you know, we really couldn't move forward with that. There's some utility construction drawing approval requirements. So there are two different components to the review where the town of Bel Air gave comments that were technical in nature, that our engineers and our architectural consultants would respond to, you know, either revising what needed to be revised or providing clarification from a technical perspective. We're obligated to do that. That's standard business. We're working to get all that information together so we can resubmit to the town so that they can review that. And when we go to them in June, we're hoping that we can get the approvals based on their responses. And they've been working internally and talking to the folks in planning and zoning for the town in order to do that. That's normal business, and that's what we'll do. They said that they would not issue the use and occupancy permit. So in 2024, once construction is completed, well, let me go. Superintendent says yes, would do it if he could, but he can't. And we go through the concepts and we do the engineering. The next condition is if we do not transfer the property before construction is completed, they would not issue use and occupancy for us to occupy the facility. Right, so we've been, I'm going to Happy Grace Middle and High School. We have property there, the senior center, that is operated by Parks and Rec. And well before Cornell Brown came to Harford County, that property was transitioned over to county to operate. But we never transferred the property. It's still board property, but we had an MOU for them to use the property, and at some point, we'll surplus it and transfer it. So when we went to develop the property for the new middle school and high school, we said this is a great opportunity to do that. So we did all the documents and got all the approvals internally to do it, and we submitted it over a year ago to the state for them to do their approvals. With COVID and everything else, we're still waiting for those approvals. And that just gives some idea of how long it takes sometimes for that process to go through. So that's been a year plus. So if we're talking about use and occupancy and doing the engineering and going through that whole process, we don't know how that process will go. It may be before 2024 and maybe not, but they set that as a condition. And then there were some additional things tied to the landscape plan that was tied to the road. So this right here really explains what I just discussed with the procedure to transfer public school property. So I jumped ahead of the slide. And the thing here is on Monday we presented to our school board this information and gave them the information that they needed. And we asked the board to take action on whether or not it was their desire to transfer the property for this purpose. I believe it was unanimous vote no. The board does not support that. The superintendent didn't support that. No one here supported that. And so now, we're moving forward with notifying the town that the board voted unanimously against transferring the property. And we're going to do the technical work to get all of the information together so that we can resubmit our plans to the town for consideration in hopes they will rescind those conditions. And then we'll just go the normal course of business to address all the technical, comments that they had to move forward. Right? All right. And any questions, we're here.
Go for it.
Just two questions. Number one, at least the literature that came out for email based off of this, It looks like the motivation for the connector predates the BRAC. Has that been taken into consideration with the increase in volume and traffic? That's question number one. Number two is.
When you say what taking it?
So the.
Traffic connector?
Yes, yeah. the connector.
I can't, that would be a town of Bel Air question, because what happened, and I wasn't gonna get into a lot of details that Mr. Miller can speak to a lot better than I can, but, we can, because we're here, but to the traffic piece, we do a traffic study to take a look at how, our improvements are gonna impact, transportation, delivery of students and parents and everything on site. The town of Bel Air asked the project team to expand that traffic analysis to take a look at some other things. We did that, and then the results of that traffic study showed that what we were doing would not adversely impact the existing traffic patterns, and that the improvements and all that the improvements that we are doing now are sufficient. And we are going to, as Mr. Cook had mentioned, continue to work with State Highway to take a look at Hunsinger Way and 924 to see if we can make any improvements there with McFall and 924 and Hunsinger Way. So there are some things that we're going to try to do. And then there was some discussion about emergency access, out of the back to get to the hospital. That's something that the team said that they would work with Parks and Rec to see if we can create an access out for emergency access and egress onto the campus. So those are things that we're always going to do, and we're going to continue working. So that's one question.
Yeah, second question, actually, those are principal folks' clarification. The module, student housing is gonna be out there. Is there any plan after the construction is done to repurpose that?
Question for those at home was the modular structures, is there a plan to repurpose them? We are leasing them.
Oh.
So that answers your question about that. We don't own them. Might be nice to have, but we just gotta find a place to store them. I don't know if you have room at your place. We can do that. But,
Not can talk all day, so this is where, you guys are in trouble, right? So we changed our thinking on our construction projects, and we learned from Joppatown High School. In Joppatown High School, we got a modular building that we leased, and it worked great for the project. So we made a decision to go that route. Instead of the relocatables, that modular building for those high school students worked. I mean, it was just a great solution. So we thought it would be a great solution here, and I think it will be. So that's something that we'll look at on future projects, that modular building, because that's like restrooms in there, administrative space and all of that. And it's just less disruptive for the instructional program. And so we're leasing them, but then for our next project at John Archer, we won't need to do that. We have a raw site, but then we can go to William Pinker Old Post, maybe that's something we do there.
question back to you would be this. We're leasing those units. If the project's delayed, what does that mean? Okay, you fill in the blank. Okay. Mrs. Lee.
So if the project does get delayed, I did listen to the board presentation the other day, so, just some discussion there and how even if it's only delayed a month or two, eventually we could run into issues with, the ground not being good to start construction, so we get longer and longer, and so potentially even maybe not demolishing this building. How are we gonna be communicated to about these things? Like, how quickly are we going to know sort of what's happening, what to expect? I know this is a very fluid situation, a new situation, but just sort of like, are there already mitigation plans that are lined up, or we're just taking
Well, that's a
every
really
go?
good question. I'm gonna turn that over to Tim. No, I'm just I don't think I can answer that question. I think we've had discussions amongst ourselves. We're getting to kind of a fail-safe point, because you can't just pick up a building on a weekend and move it. It's not like you're moving to a new home. We can't do that. So, all right, let's just say that the town changes their mind and we're good to go. We're ready to move, we're moving. But I think there becomes a point when you say, what if we did move and we can't demolish this building and this sits idle? I don't know. What if we stay here, but then things change, now we gotta move? When are we gonna do that? Could you do that over a break? I don't know. So you can think about how the dominoes could fall there. Could 4 months be 6 months? Could 6 months be 12 months? And I don't think any of us want to even speculate what that is, although Mr. Morton looks like he's ready to speculate, so.
But, so,
I'm right here so people can hope.
yeah, I'm sorry. You know, there's a reason why I survived 27 years. I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you what you wanna hear. I'm gonna tell you the truth, okay? And you can't shrink the time on the front end and think you're gonna make it up on the back end. Because if I stand up here and tell you that, I'm lying. I'm just being flat out honest, okay? It takes 2 years from start to finish to do a 140,000 square foot building, okay? You know, and the soils here, we know, because, you know, there's boring tests and things like that, they are sensitive to wet weather. So that's one of the reasons why you're coming out of the ground in the hot summer months and not in the winter. So it slows things down. You know, you might have to do remediation to the soils and things. That takes money, that takes time. So there's these impacts as you go out. I can promise you, we are looking at this all the time, and we will communicate once. I mean, the key is approval and permits. And then from there, we can share. I mean, you know, you have the buildings, we can extend the lease. So I don't necessarily think it's the worst thing, but it will extend things.
Yeah.
I
mean,
hope that.
and I think, like, well, the concern, like, when I think about it, it's like, you know, it's temporary, we gotta get through this, we can do this, right, as a community, we can do this, but if we're gonna be like, just kidding, it's 3 years, and I asked my question about playgrounds, like, the students who are here and in these buildings are, you know, we're really talking an extended period of time, it's sad for them, you know.
Now, with youth benefit, another reason that we went with relocatables is because had we not, and we're doing some type of phased occupied, like youth benefit and other projects, that project was 3.5 years. And we were gonna do it 2. So, I'm just, you know, that's kind of the trip. And these, you know, these units are brand spanking new. You know, they're, I'm not saying they're as nice as the new building, but they are brand spanking new, everything's new, the AC's new, they have all the same technologies on them, Wi-Fi, or box lights, I was updating that.
Some box.
Or interactive lights, because we're moving that, the new school will have the box lights, I'm sorry. So, I mean, they're, you know, they won't miss anything in terms of what they need in the classroom. So I hope that answers it.
Yes, sir.
Was the town of Bel Air part of the conversation from the get-go? It sounds to me like you throw a flag and now we're up in arms. But this wasn't a surprise, this road, I mean, it was talked about in the 90s. Was the town of Bel Air a part of conversation from the beginning? And why are we now kind of saying, oh my goodness, what's going on?
I'll let Mr. Brown be able to address that.
I didn't get here to 2008, so I don't know any conversations in the 90s. But it was always rumored that, you know, the town of Bel Air wanted to make this connection. So historically, some years ago, there was some discussion about it, but there was never any official request of the school system to do anything to make that connection. When it was brought up to our attention while we were going through the design process, we made it known that it was something that we did not support. So when we started design and we engaged them during the planning process is when they started bringing this up. And we communicated to them that it's not something that we support.
Because of the history of this potential road, it would only seem logical to my peanut brain that we would have talked to Bel Air in concept plan instead of design, knowing that it is a hot button. It has the potential of a hot button, especially with the growth of our community. I feel bad for everybody because we're at the 11th hour and in a dilemma that could have, I think, hopefully could have been avoided had we had a little foresight.
It's a good perspective. Yes, sir. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that honesty. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question. The woods back here that they're gonna be taking part of, isn't that protected land that's not supposed to be built on? That's what I was told when we moved in here. That was one of the selling points of why we bought our house here.
We don't have our civil engineer here that would be able to answer that, but we can look into that
I was
for you.
thinking about the road, if that's protected, how could they even?
I'm not sure.
Not sure we said protected.
So,
There's reforestation requirements. So when you go to develop, as long as you're putting back at least what you're taking away, you know, so that's all worked through. The only true protected lands is a wetland, okay? And even having said that, it's not that you can't mitigate against a wetland, it's just a very lengthy process. It requires the Corps of Engineers and things. So I also think, I hate to say it, I think that people selling houses also kind of say things that aren't always necessarily true because they're trying to sell you a house.
Well, I know
I'm
that,
being honest.
but that was also discussed with some of the neighbors that had been there since the development of the community.
I'm gonna go to the back first and then I'll come up to you. Go ahead, ma'am.
So from a project management standpoint, I would assume that you built in some time for things to be delayed. Can you tell us what that may be? Is there like a 20% buffer? What happens in June if the town says, we're not moving forward? Does that mean that our kids either stay here in Wakefield or move into that building and then everything sits still? And what is the drop dead timeline before we start to see impact for our children? Is it now? Is it June? And where is your buffer?
The question for those at home that maybe couldn't hear it was, is there some buffer built into the construction schedule that would allow flexibility? You got me trained now.
There really isn't a buffer, okay? When these schedules are scheduled out, everything, I mean, you see all the processes, we gotta hit our milestones. Now, there might be some float between activities when you're building a building, you know, because you got, you know, people coming and doing certain things and you might have some time between those activities, but it's not 20%. So, you know, it's hard to answer that question until we resolve the issue with the town of Bel Air and we are to the point where they are releasing the permits. And until that happens, it's just speculation. You know, the schedule was we were going to accept bid, literally, we were out on the street for the bids. We were gonna accept bids on April 21st. We pushed that a month. So we already pushed out our schedule a month.
So you'll be accepting bids May 21st? And then the meeting with the town in June?
We pushed it out because we were continually working through this process. It's probably gonna get pushed again. And if there's not a resolution at the planning meeting, then we'll probably pull it all together.
Yes, ma'am.
What my neighbor said, are the woods gonna be all taken out for this project? Or is that the plan, that the wood area behind Wakefield is gonna be, the tree will be taken out?
I don't know if we can answer that simple.
We have to get our civil engineer to look at that, unless Mark, you think you can address it?
Well, from the picture I saw, it looked like that the trees were going on the picture, and that the actual building was gonna be just feet from mine and my neighbor's backyard.
Yeah.
So I have another question. My husband was a senior project manager in commercial construction, high-rise for 50 years, and his crew started work at 6 in the morning. Do you know what time this building started working right up there?
So, two good points, and I'm glad you brought them up because I knew it was gonna come, thank you. Was what's happening with the trees, sort of behind the building, and then what's the impact on me living right next door to a construction zone? great questions. We can find out about the trees. There is gonna be landscaping that's put in. My understanding, Mark, correct, is there's gonna be landscaping between the building and the house line.
Additional trees being planted between the end of the back of the two-story building towards the roof problem. So you keep in mind the trees that are there, are all the parking lots behind it are tall, and those are gonna be protected.
Oh, there are, but I was thinking of the actual woods.
The ball field, not the ball field, but the bus loop there does take down some of the trees out. I can't tell you if it takes down all the way down the property.
And in terms of construction times, that's something I anticipated being a concern. And that's something that we'll have to talk when we get there about what that would look like. Because you're our neighbors, and we wanna respect you just like you respect us. And we wanna work with you. I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's gonna be all peaches and cream. It's not. It's gonna be dust, it's gonna be noise, it's gonna be all those things, it's gonna be beeping, it's gonna be this and that. And
Well, I know they started out here earlier than 7.
so, Tom told me a typical start time is 7 a.m.
I understand all that, because I've been doing construction for 50 years. And, you know, I want what's best for the kids too.
Thank you.
I was in education, this was my neighbor, that was my career, my daughter came to this school, Homestead, she could go middle and go high. But, you know, you're ready.
And that's why several weeks ago, I walked out and met as many of you as I could before it started happening. Thank you. I'm gonna go here first.
All right, so as a taxpaying citizen here in Harper County, how much does it cost to lease these modular buildings? And if the town of Bel Air keeps postponing this and spending the residents' tax money on leasing and wasting the school's budget, how much are we spending on the lease? And how much is it gonna cost us if this project gets pushed back, roughly?
I can provide it's public information on, the bid, and, there's a cost to have them set in place, and a cost to have them removed. And then there's a lease payment for 2 years, for 24 months. So I can provide that information to Chris, and then he can share it to everybody, or it can post it on the website.
So we can safely assume there's a significant amount of money that's not coming out of one person's pocket, but everybody in this room is paying for, and the town of Bel Air is spending their money delaying this project. Yes? I mean, let's be honest and talk facts, that's all.
I can't answer that question because I don't know what that would cost or how much or what that would, but certainly one could draw conclusions.
Not cheap.
We're, again, my goal here this evening, and this was scheduled before this event occurred, was to share with you what the future of Homestead Wakefield looks like, okay? I'm gonna go to Ms. Fouts, and then we're gonna go to the back.
I'm just curious, and maybe it's too early to ask because of the new developments, but do we, what is, I guess, worst case scenario? Like if we don't get this resolved with this road, I'm thinking my son, he's in first grade, and he's in the, the smaller building, and I'm thinking, so the next 2 years he'll be in the modulars, but if it gets delayed, is his whole elementary, time that we spent in these modulars and not?
I don't think anybody here wants that.
Right, no, I don't think anybody does, but I'm wondering, I like to plan for the worst, almost.
Yeah, so
Even
what-
for bigger kids and.
What was presented to the board, there's state precedents that shows that the town of Bel Air overstepped its authority by, setting these conditions. That information was presented to our board on Monday, and we're moving forward, through our legal office, to address that point. So it is our position that the town of Bel Air is not authorized to do what it has done. And we would like to resolve that as quickly as we can. And if we cannot resolve it without taking legal recourse, then we will take that. And the worst case is that it becomes a court issue. So one would think that if that's the case, we could lose a year. From a cycle standpoint, at some point this winter, we will not be able to, do much. And then we could say that we could potentially, worst case, just to start off, saying lose a year. Then this time next year, we'll be starting the construction project with bidding and everything else to start next year. So instead of 2024, it could be 2025. That's the worst case scenario that I'm putting out there right now.
I just wanted to add to that the whole decision making as to when we're moving the students to the portables, we are not going to move them to the portables if we feel that it's getting delayed. So the students won't be in there an extra year, because that's why we're waiting for that decision to be made. Because we don't want to put them down there and have a vacant building up here that no one's using, but once we move them, we move them. So we're waiting to make that decision to move them. So I wanted to answer that part, sorry.
We're gonna go in the back, and then we're gonna go to Mrs. Monk. Yes, ma'am.
So, since the responsibility lays with the local government, have we connected with them? Have we talked to them? Is it the council? Is it a committee? Are they aware of what's going on? What is their position? We have spoken to them. And also, is this planning meeting public? And can we publish it to the community in advance so they know exactly what's going on?
Is the town of Bel Air aware?
No, I'm sorry.
Is the local government aware?
Right, correct. So
I,
it's not the council.
I don't want to speak for them, but I assume that they're aware. You have, as a citizen of the county and as a school community member, you certainly have every right to contact your elected officials to express your opinions in any shape or manner that you do. And the only thing I ask from all of you, and I've said this many, many times, is we do it the right way to the right person in the right degree. And if we do it that way, then I think that we are modeling good behaviors and we're modeling good problem-solving strategies. Not to say, ma'am, that you would have poor behavior. I'm just saying, we gotta do it the right way to the right person in the right degree. I can tell you this, the Board of Ed, and I'm not trying to excuse them, they're behind us. They voted on Monday night to reject the town's proposal. Superintendent brought it forth, they voted, they are behind us. The money is in the bank, the project is ready to go according to the state. We are ready to go as a system, but now we've hit this roadblock.
Is that planning meeting going to be public?
As far as I know, all the planning meetings are public.
Yeah.
Do we
And-
have that information?
Yeah, I can provide it to Chris, and Chris can share it.
If you go to the Town of Bel Air website, and,
We have to get on the agenda.
Once we're on the agenda.
Once it's accepted.
Okay.
We'll be able to share that.
So the school system has to get on their agenda first, but that doesn't mean you cannot attend any public meeting and share your opinions, whether it's the town of commissioners, the county council, that's your purview.
So I know there was a June being discussed, is there any way to move that sooner if we make a lot of noise, or is this gonna keep June?
They're
No.
saying no.
Okay.
The May meeting is a certain time, submissions and all that stuff that was needed. And, we met in April, so we had already passed the submission for May. So the first opportunity we have is to submit things in May for June.
Mrs. Monk?
Before questions, I think this is important, and I'll let you speak. Going back to Rod, I'm hearing kind of the same question, same theme, and I get it, okay? The anxiety of the schedule and when and the impacts. And if it's okay with Chris, once we get the approvals, we will come back and outline the schedule and answer any questions that anybody has. Because that's the most honest and transparent way to answer the questions. Me standing up here now is a lot of speculation. And I think it's causing more anxiety than it's, but I have no problem coming back and presenting once we start to know some of these answers. I just wanted to share. Cheryl?
My comment and question is piggybacking on yours. We were given an opportunity with the sheet tonight of the representatives. Is there any organization through the PTA or others for submitting these letters of well-worded, appropriately modeled, etc. Can we get started sending messages to these representatives to say, we would like to support the superintendent and the board's vote, and we submit that it's best for our students' education. I live in Wakefield Meadows, my grandchildren are going here, and I'm a 42-year-old veteran of a teacher here, so I'm highly motivated to support any writing endeavors, to get the civic organizations to know what's going on here. So please let us know how we can take the next step forward to the town of Bel Air and others to make a positive move in the right direction. And the other thing I wanted to make note of, I was at Youth Benefit when they were doing their building as a construction facilitator, and they established a Facebook building update line, so everything that Mr. Smith could update everyone, and with the building group, they kept the parents well informed using this, that was for the only purpose to update on the progression of the building, and I think it worked really well. So that's, you probably already had thought of that, but I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Alicia speak in a second, but I just want to clarify. Did you say 42 years old or 42-year veteran?
You know I went to school here.
I know. I couldn't do the math that quick. I'm sorry. And I only do that because I have so much respect for you. So I can't tell you not to contact anybody. That's your purview as a school community member. You can do that.
Right.
Do I think you've got some great ideas? Absolutely. We do currently have an Instagram set up, and we are taking pictures and posting things, you know, trailers coming in. I did some of the inside of the trailers. You know, it hasn't gone totally nuts. I think we have 90 followers, but you can be 91, Cheryl, if you want to jump on there. But that is one thing that we are doing. So, Alicia?
If I could.
Yeah.
So, for all of our projects, what we do is set up on our ACPS website information for the construction project. So we did it for Youth Benefit and the middle high school and Happy Grace, and that would be something that Mr. Miller will set up, you know, once the project gets started, with schedules and updates and pictures and things of that sort that you saw on the website.
Alicia?
Hi, I'm Alicia Rayback, current president. Robin Lee is going to be our president as of July 1st. We have postcards out in the hallway for anyone to take. You can, there's also a Town of Bel Air mailing address. You can pick who you want to voice your opinion to. By all means, send postcards. Please be respectful. That's all we ask. We will be, as a PTA, coming up with a formal statement that we are going to make in opposition of the road and state our reasons why. We are also going to work on a template for our parents who might not quite know how to draft a letter, but we will put that out as well. We have on our website, hwes.memberhub.com, there's an advocacy page. We are keeping that updated as things go on. It also has our information for the county executive, the county council, all of that stuff. And we're going to keep that updated as to how parents can get involved, how community members can get involved. We're really trying to get all our facts together and push that out without opinions, just facts. So please be patient with us. This popped up 3 weeks ago, perhaps, so we're working on it. But thank you all for your support, and take as many postcards as you want. Thank you.
George?
Just a quick point of reference for all of you. In 2010, 2011, I was the PTA president at Homestead Wakefield Elementary School. My daughter is now going into her sophomore year in college, and Mr. Brown knows me well because we pointed out the poor conditions of the buildings back then. In 2010, 2011, there were drafts, there were plans to reconstruct this building and the other building. The town of Bel Air never contacted any of us and said they wanted something done with the road, even then, in 2010-11. And I know other people say that this project was in the plans for 35 years, in master plan, but nobody mentioned it 19 years ago or 18 years ago. And now, in the final hour, for them to pull this surprise is it's very disappointing. So when you craft your letters, please don't act as if this was a surprise to the town. It was not. The town has known about this project. That anybody in the town that's on the board, in office, if they have not seen the condition of this school, then they haven't represented you properly, okay? So just please frame your mindset that this is not a new topic. This is very, very old. And that's all I'd like to share with you. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor?
I have a question for Mr. Brown this morning. You had said earlier that you are still obviously talking to the town, either working through some of the technical issues, the more, pro forma, but basic kind of stuff, and working towards a resolution to try and solve the big issue of the road. Is your sense that the town is dealing with you in good faith? Because down the line, when you make a demand like that, saying we won't grant the permit years from now, I don't necessarily see what room there is as a community member for it to go anywhere but legal. Like, so I guess my simple question, if you need answers, do you feel that on the other side, ahead of this June 2nd meeting with this window closing, that there is willingness to deal from the town? Or do you feel like they are committed at this point to digging in their heels, and if it, I guess what I'm saying is the onus is on, they've put the onus on the school system to meet their demand or not. Do you feel like they're gonna come off of that, or is that's their?
I guess the honest answer from my perspective is they believe in what they believe. They're sincere about their beliefs, but they're in conflict with our rights in terms of it being school board property, and that it's supposed to be for educational purposes. So it's just a rock and a hard place. And I'm being honest, they're not bad people. And I've worked with the director and the assistant director, and in their previous lives, one worked for Frederick Ward and worked for us, worked with me on projects as a team. They're not bad people. They just have their belief, and it's, I don't know how else to.
And we did forward correspondence to them after the board took action, stating our position and the legal, opinion from the Maryland Attorney General. So we're hoping that once they get that information, that they'll review that with their legal counsel, and then they'll understand, and we'll move forward and we'll be able to resolve this issue.
So everybody keeps saying the planning committee or the town of Bel Air brought this up. Who is it specifically that has to approve? Is it the ones on our paper that say planning commission? Who are the group of individuals in the town of Bel Air that give us the stamp of approval?
Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is the one that issues the permits and the approvals to move forward. Site plan.
And then once we get that, then the town will issue.
Yeah, then it's such, the next approval.
Can you clarify that?
So the planning commission approved the site plan, and that gives authority to the town's planning and zoning department to issue the building permits and the other permits that's required for the project to move forward.
However, the Planning Commission, in my understanding, falls under the town commissioners, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make, that was my understanding when I looked, yes.
Okay, so it's those, I'm just trying to get an idea of, I don't know the government structure that well. Like, where does different people in here fall in? Who can affect the decision to be made? That
You affected this.
Well, yeah, trust me, I've already emailed them and they haven't emailed me back. Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, like, where does who is really making the decision? Right.
The people in the first block on the page, there's people, email every day, a couple times a day.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing and I'll give it to Harry. Homestead Wakefield is not here to tell you we want a road or we don't want a road, okay? We're here to share with you our hopes and dreams of a new school and to let you know where we were, where we are now, and where we want to go. We've hit a stumbling block. If you want a road, you have every right to go out and express your right to have that road, just as someone else can disagree with that. So this is not a platform to say, that Homestead Wakefield or Harford County Public Schools is telling you to go do this. The school system has made a stance, superintendent has made a stance, and we hope you support that stance, but we also understand people may not support that stance, and that is okay. I can read the audience pretty well, and I can feel the way you feel, and I'm good with that feeling, but I also recognize there are two sides to every story, and that is okay. I do trust these gentlemen and this team and Ms. Valentino to work with others to come to a resolve. I've seen them do it. I believe that they can do it. They're successful at what they do. Hopefully we can get there, and we need your help.
So what I wanted to do to answer your question is this, is to understand that the planning commission are normal people that are appointed, they have day jobs, they're volunteers, okay? And so the people to contact directly, because they are private citizens and whatever, the liaison is the Department of Planning and Zoning for the town of Bel Air. And they're the ones that are the liaison between the planning commission and entities like us.
I did want to give, I know we have some Wakefield Meadows folks here. Is there anybody that, you know, because you guys are our closest neighbors? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering, I live this goes directly across the street from the cut through, the walker's path.
Are you Chestnut Woods, right there?
No, I'm Chatham Road.
Okay, Chatham.
Wakefield Meadows. Just wondering, I saw somewhere on one of the screens it said something about improvements to the walker's path.
Yes.
Okay. I wonder just how that kind of construction or during construction, we're just up the path from the school. So I know how construction projects go. I'm in construction. People find places to park anywhere. Are you gonna be able to keep construction people and stuff off of Chatham Road?
Come here, Mr. Tim.
Yes.
Come here, Mr. Tim.
You were doing so well.
Here's what happens. I get a phone call, I pick up my phone, I call them, and they address it. So am I gonna promise you that no truck is gonna park there, and that's definitely never gonna happen? I can't make that
I'm just
guarantee.
worried about like, just even just people that are working on the site to find an easy way, because during drop off and pick up for the school, sometimes people park so close to my driveway, I can't make a right turn out of my driveway, I have to go left to go around to get out.
Look, I just
Sorry
want to
about
tell
that.
you, we can't control everybody, but I want to tell you that if you bring it to our attention that people that are working on my site are parking in your neighborhood, we will put an end to that. Those people, they'll be given a warning maybe once, and if there's repeat, you know, they won't be permitted to work on our site. And we can even have fines for stuff like that, and I don't even want to go there. Hopefully they listen and they're respectful, because, you know, again, we are, you know, we're doing this for Homestead Wakefield, for the parents and the students here. We're a good neighbor, we're a compliance organization, okay? And, you know, we believe in that. And I wanted to talk about that, that pathway too, just so you guys are aware of this. You know, the board actually owns that property. There's like how many foot? 12-foot swath or so that we own, that goes all the way, connects to Chatham Road. And as part of this project, and you can see the path is a little bit beat up and it doesn't meet accessibility standards. So as part of this project, and we're gonna meet with the neighbors that are there when that work is about, you know, so they can know what we're gonna do there, because there are tree encroachments, there's some fence encroachments and stuff like that. But we're gonna reach out and work with them, and we're gonna make that pathway nice, but that'll be at the end of the project, you know, so that the people coming from your neighborhood have easy access to our site and accessibility.
So something to add, as you know, on the construction side, whenever somebody new comes to the site to work on the site, Tim's gonna go through some sort of safety protocol, tell them the rules of the road, the lay of the land and all that kind of stuff, and give them a sticker to put on their hard hat. So everybody should have a sticker with their individual number. So if anybody sees, you know, hey, there's number 007 there, you know, we've got that tied to who that person is, okay?
J. Vincent Schaefer and Comer And the trailers, 43 trailers, 43, how long are those? 100 foot, something like that? 66 foot long trailers came in and had no issue. No issue. Dump trucks back and forth. Was it a pain? Yes. But they worked around our schedule, never encroached on the kids. Is it dusty and some stones? Yeah. Is it the best solution? No. But it's getting us to the goal, right? That's where we want to get to, the goal. So you guys have been fantastic. Love working with them and love their support. Is that Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment, I don't have a question. This school, as we've heard, has been talked about for the past 10 or 12 years being built. One of the reasons I moved to Bel Air was because of the education that our kids can get here. We live just a couple, not this neighborhood, but the next one down. And I've got a 2-year-old. So we're going to be at Homestead Wakefield and Bel Air Middle for a very long time. This school, as we know, has been here since 1958. The next school is going to be here probably longer than that. So the next 2-3 years, as inconvenient as it is for all of us probably, is going to be for the benefit of the county, of the town, and of the state. We need to let our kids get a really good education in a state-of-the-art building with safety in mind, without having a road, which would be a main thoroughfare, connecting 2 large community roads without having the danger of them going to school here. It's inconvenient, it hasn't been done, we've all survived for however long that road hasn't been connected. We will continue to survive, but our kids should be the focus here. And getting the school done is the community's focus here, the county's focus, the town's focus, the government's focus, so that we can all be successful in the future.
Just a quick disclaimer, no goods or services were provided to Mr. Phillips for that statement. I would like to add to that though, and you bring up a really good point. If your kids are in Bel Air Middle District and Bel Air High District, you need to think about that. I can tell you, sitting out there every day, there is traffic back and forth of kids across our campus. I see Mr. Marty walking his dogs almost every day. And I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I see you walking every day. 3 o'clock in the morning, we're trying to figure out what happens. I see deer running across, guys carrying grocery bags. There's people on this campus. And when I say campus, I mean Homestead Wakefield, Bel Air Middle, all day long. Kids running across, country through. Kids that live in Wakefield Meadows riding bikes to the middle school. Kids in Wakefield Meadows walking to Bel Air High School. So I'm just sharing with you, that's what I see. Okay? Ms. Fouts.
I just want to put out a call to that you want our help. And so, I'll have no fury as, a mom bear, a papa bear that wants the best for their children and wants to advocate for that. What can we do to support you to get it, to get our voices heard in a nice, legal, best way?
What I would like to do is to get this information out to the community, because Mr. Brown went through some of the critical steps. To me, when I look at that, we're very clear. One that stands out to me extremely clear is the school system cannot give property like that. I think that's black and white. So using that information that may be presented in here to help you to build your case would be wise. I also think allowing Mrs. Rayback to get her group together, but that doesn't mean you can't go home tonight or tomorrow and make phone calls. I know the town of Bel Air knows we're having this meeting. They posted it on their website. We're not trying to hide it. I'm not trying to hide anything. Our guys aren't trying to hide anything. I'm not trying to say the town of Bel Air is, please. I just want to present to you with where we are right now. And your help is to be an advocate in the way you think you need to advocate. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to point out, it is an election year, so I think the best way to do this would be to reach out to your local officials, call everyone, and just keep talking to everyone you know, and it's going to spread like wildfire, and especially since it's an election. So keep that in mind.
Ms. Morrison?
So the Bel Air Patch article that was released
released yesterday where the town of Bel Air so clearly said they're in support of Homestead Wakefield, and their main concern is for the safety of our children. Obviously, I know that we all agree that that is the primary concern for this potential connection. In light of recent awful school tragedies, in case of an emergency, it's not a terrible idea to have a connection that goes directly to the hospital from this very large campus of 3 schools. Is HCPS considering putting in some type of access road that would be for emergency vehicles only and not a through thoroughfare for the public?
I think if HCPS is willing to talk with the town of Bel Air, with the local law enforcement, with the Harford County Sheriff's Office to explore any options.
I stated earlier, and maybe I wasn't clear. So the McFall Center is, abuts our property, and we've had some conversations with Parks and Rec to make an access. So we're gonna look and see what's the best solution to allow emergency access to South Atwood and,
I know
that
you
side.
said they weren't crazy about construction access, but
Yeah.
like this would be,
Yes.
an emergency.
So we have to work through how that's gonna happen and everything, so the project team has already started having discussions with them to see what's the solution to that.
And if you're familiar with Red Pump is one that comes to mind. If you've driven past their campus, they actually have a gate near the school building that's closed during the day. Now, their parking lot is ginormous and they got this big long road. But that may be something that could be looked at.
First that access exists at Bel Air High School on the back end.
On the back end, I did not know that. So Bel Air High School on the back end. Yes, sir.
I just want to point out that, you brought up that it was an election year. The last 2 commissioners that were elected with 484 votes and 426. So putting pressure on that and having an organized resistance is very viable and a way to make your point very, very clear. That's going to be coming up very regularly for the people who are on here.
We have approximately 1,070 students at Homestead Wakefield.
To make that point.
That is a fact.
I like that.
All right. Sharon?
Just, I want to get off of this subject for a second, just for those of us who live right here behind the school at Wakefield Meadows. First off, the front of the school is going to stay, the school's going to stay facing the same way, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you putting, are you putting a wall, a buffer, a fence, something?
Why don't we, if it's okay, because I think this is a little more intimate for those of you that live right there, and I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Okay.
So if you could hold that, we could maybe discuss that afterwards. Is there anybody else that, anything else? Yes, sir.
The title to this property is in the hands of what entity? Board of Ed. The Board of Ed is a state level?
Quasi-state government when it comes to real estate property, yes.
With that being the case, how does the town of Bel Air exert any influence over requirements that are local requirements?
It's the permits and authorizing the building permits.
They're an incorporated municipality, and we're within their municipality, so we're within the
So
purview.
the state property still is under the jurisdiction of the incorporation?
So,
Now, this is a comment.
this is, so, I've been told, working up that at the end of the day, we really don't have to, follow, but we have never, ever, in my time, not followed and worked with the local municipalities of Harford County government, never. So, this is the first time kind of where we hit that between a rock and a hard spot, where we have very strong opinions on either side. And from a legal perspective, they are overreaching. If that answers your question.
Government take is what it sounds like.
Is that a fair?
But they don't have the authority, but the bottom line is they, just like in the city of Aberdeen or the city of Havergrave, they issue the building permits. So we work collaboratively with them to do that, because then they do building inspections and those kind of things. So it's part of the construction process. But they cannot, by Maryland state law, use that as a leverage tool to basically seize school property. Right, so we're just going through the process to say, here's the law, this is what the law says, and you're overstepping, and then we can get back to the normal course of business. We just gotta go through those steps. But that's a great question. It's really complicated.
Thank you all for coming. I do greatly appreciate you. I appreciate your perspectives, your questions, your input. If you need me, you can call me here at school or email me. Thanks to the staff that stayed late tonight, and it was great to see your faces. One of our administrative professionals is here today, so